Hi, I'm Judy.
And I'm Jen.
And today we're going to be talking about the AI revolution in language education.
We're going to talk a little bit about what generative AI is, what it does, and some pluses and minuses.
Let's get started. So, what is generative AI that you've been hearing all about? Well, it's a computer model that creates new content. So, it's basically called a large language model machine learning. Basically, what it is these companies like OpenAI and Google trained these machines, these large language models, on a huge corpora of language, basically the whole of the internet.
All that they could get their hands on.
And some things they maybe shouldn't have. And they taught it to use probability to guess what's going to happen next, what words should come next, kind of like the predictive text on your phone, but way smarter. Then they fine-tuned it with humans. So they would ask it to create some content and then tell it, that's what I was looking for. Now try again. And the programmers aren't really sure how it's learning, if that's not scary enough, but they know that it is learning. And through this process, it's developing better and better language. So AI, generative AI,
we've been using AI for a long time, lots of different products. But generative AI is new, and I'm going to use a metaphor to talk about them.
I like that.
A metaphor that ChatGPT gave me.
Good job.
The hum chef, that's an old-fashioned AI that we've been using for a while, and a 5-star chef, and that is generative AI.
Okay.
So your home chef cooks for a recipe. They take a recipe, they do everything that they're told, and at the end, they get a product that they were predicting, but it's based on this recipe, not any creative decision-making on their part.
That makes sense.
That's like this old school AI we've been using for a while. It's a decision maker. It's based on preset rules or data sets. You feed it to the AI, and it can make predictions, it can analyze, it can automate, but it's not creating anything new. And that's things that we've been using for a while, like Google search, social media recommendations, Google Maps, autocorrect, your autocorrect when you're typing messages.
Thanks for the
chatbots. It's like a home chef using a recipe book.
Exactly.
But a 5-star chef, like generative AI, is quite different. A 5-star chef understands everything about cooking, all the ingredients, all the techniques, and with that body of knowledge, can create brand new recipes. And that's like generative AI. It's based on these massive training sets. It just understands them, and it's creating new things for us. For example, text, images, music, video, code. These are all things it can create. Cool. And you may have heard of ChatGPT, of course, DALL-E, GitHub Copilot, Synthesia, Sora. That's a new product. And Microsoft Copilot. These are generative AI.
Right. So what are some of the superpowers of generative AI? Why is this getting everybody so excited? Well, for one thing, it creates human-sounding language. It sounds like you're talking with a friend when you're chatting with one of these chatbots. It also can remember your chat. When you go into Google and you ask a question or you do a Google search, that's it. The search is done. It doesn't remember your searches, and you can't keep refining your search down in a back and forth kind of way. Whereas these chatbots, you can. It remembers your chat from where you left off maybe a week ago, a month ago, months ago, and you can continue the conversation right there. It can also mimic style, tone, genre, even languages. So you can ask it to write it funny or sad or serious or formal or in a wide range of languages. It's also highly adaptive and responsive. So if you don't get the answer you're looking for, you can ask it to tweak it just a little bit, make it longer, make it shorter, give me some details, give me more examples of this. And you can keep chatting with it for hours. But because of this, people tend to trust what it generates because it sounds authoritative. It sounds like it knows what it's talking about, which leads us to some of generative AI's
kryptonite. Yeah, and there are some things to look out for.
Absolutely.
The learning curve is the first one. You've been using it for a year. I feel like I've learned something every day. If you're just jumping into it, it can seem overwhelming, and you have to keep on top of a lot of new developments all the time. Quality and accuracy can be a really huge issue. It was trained on the internet. We know that the internet is not only full of truth. So whatever it's been fed is something that it's learned on, and it can produce some things that are inaccurate. It's full of biases, just like the internet is. Gender bias, cultural bias. It can hallucinate. That sounds
like fun.
That's what they're calling when it just makes things up. It doesn't like to say, I don't know. Right. So it will just tell you something. Dependency is an issue that we think about as educators.
Absolutely.
If I outsource all my tasks to AI, I might not be developing those skills.
Or forget how to write an email.
Maybe. Academic integrity is another really serious issue for teachers. If you've got a homework machine where you can just push a button and out will come an essay, it's hard to know where the line is and what's a student's writing and what's not, what's some help and what's too much help. Access and equity are another issue. Not everyone around the world has got the $20 a month to spend on a subscription for a fancy service. The good tools are often paid, and the free tools are often lower quality. So we need to watch out for that.
Definitely something to think about. So we have these ethical concerns. What are some ways that we can mitigate them or help to alleviate some of them? Well, first of all, transparency. We need to be transparent when we're using these tools and how we're using them so that we are at the forefront of explaining how these tools can be used and not trying to hide it. We also want to teach our students ethics. Just as you teach your students how not to plagiarize, how to cite their sources, we also want to teach them how to ethically use these new tools. They're not going away, they're going to be here. So we want to make sure that our students have an understanding of what are some of the correct and incorrect ways they can use these. That comes through having an open discussion with not only your students, but also your colleagues. What are these tools? How can they be used? How should they not be used? And then setting up clear expectations. Depending on your task, you may want to tell students, no AI on this task at all. I want this to be just your work. Or you might say, hey, we're brainstorming this today. It's a topic you don't know a lot about. Why don't you jump on one of these chat bots and have a little conversation about this topic so you can develop your background ideas. And then most importantly of all, you need to be familiarizing yourself with it. As Jen said, these tools, there's a pretty steep learning curve on them. But once you get in and start playing with it, you find they're kind of fun to use. But the more familiar you are with what they can and can't do, the better you're going to be able to notice when your students are using it and then guide them in appropriate usage. And one thing to be really aware of, AI detectors. Don't trust them. Don't believe them when they say that they can detect AI use 95% of the time. That 5% will get you in trouble.
And especially with ESL.
Yes.
Second language learners.
Second language learners have been found through many studies to be more than native speakers tagged as using AI, so false positives, which would just be a terrible thing for our students to be accused of using AI when they really tried really hard to write an essay for you.
Definitely.
So, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, I'm Judy.
I'm Jen.
And you can find this video and many more resources about AI and also just using technology in your classrooms at jenjudy.com.